coming up on this edition of Southwest TV News. As we continue to enjoy milder than normal temperatures for the month of November, furnace safety is likely the last thing on your mind. Another influenza season is here, and Saskatchewan Health is once again offering free vaccinations for residents 6 months of age and older. As Remembrance Day approaches, we take a look back at how Swift Current contributed to the various war efforts over the years. Thanks for joining us here today. As another winter season approaches in the coming months, you're once again being reminded to ensure that your furnace is fully serviced before you fire it up. As we continue to enjoy milder than normal temperatures for the month of November, furnace safety is likely the last thing on your mind. However, weather patterns can change quickly, and when they do, your furnace should be working properly to heat your home. Therefore, Sask Energy is reminding you to get in the habit of having your furnace inspected by a professional on a regular basis.
One of the first problems that happens with an improperly maintained furnace would be that for any one of a number of reasons it starts to produce carbon monoxide rather than just warm air, and that can be deadly. And so really it's for your own and your family's safety. Get that furnace maintenance, get a qualified licensed plumber in there to check out the furnace and look at things like all the moving parts, lubricating the motor and the fan, checking the heat exchanger. If there's a crack in that can let oxygen in, and that can interfere with the burning process. Make sure the pilot light system works properly. Check and even reset the natural gas burners, and look at the gas lines that lead to the furnace. Know what kind of furnace filter you need, and get yourself a good supply of them for the whole winter. And when the really, really cold weather comes, you're probably need to replace that furnace filter monthly.
Burtnuck further adds that investing in a carbon monoxide detector is a wise move, and Sask Energy will credit you $25 on your next utility bill after you submit your proof of purchase to their office. Your furnace is the hardest working appliance in the home, and therefore through proper maintenance, you can ensure it's running to its full capacity while keeping you warm through the winter season. Another influenza season is here, and free flu shot clinics are now underway across the province. Another influenza season is here, and Saskatchewan Health is once again offering free vaccinations for residents 6 months of age and older. And there's some changes to the vaccine this year, based on circulating strains of influenza worldwide.
This year the focus of the province is going to be more on what we call the quadrivalent vaccine, which actually covers 4 different strains of influenza. Which is much more than what we've had in past years where we had a trivalent covering only 3. So that's going to be the main emphasis of the province. And also some of the research is revealing that the flu mist efficiency or efficacy may not be as good, especially in older age groups. It may be okay for very young individuals, but again, even there, not as good. So the focus of the province will be on the quadrivalent vaccine this year.
The influenza vaccine is for everyone, and especially the elderly, young children, and caregivers. And along with getting your annual flu shot, proper hygiene comes into play in preventing the spread of illness.
For influenza, we pick up a lot of the influenza, not just by people coughing. So, of course, people who are coughing, if you're really sick, first of all, stay at home, get yourself recovered. And also not spread so much of the infection. But also a lot of the infection is on surfaces, so door handles, carts, things like that. So washing your hands and using hand sanitizer frequently and properly is very useful. If you are coughing, cough in your sleeve. Don't cough out, into a crowd and things like that. But washing of hands, very important.
And for anyone who still has major concerns over vaccinations in general, Dr. Tour has these comments.
Let's have a chat. Let's talk about it, and we can, give you good advice on it. And certainly it is useful to have your vaccinations. It is protective and it is safe. And we can give all that information because sometimes you find there's too much information in the internet, you don't know which is true, which is not true. So get information from reliable people and they can help you make a good decision.
In the coming weeks, the Cypress Health region will be offering 38 free flu shot clinics in 20 communities across the Southwest. A full schedule of the clinics are all available online through the Cypress Health region's website. And as Remembrance Day approaches, we bring you this special feature, looking back at Swift Current's contribution to the war efforts. A special feature co-produced by Southwest TV News and the Swift Current Museum.
It's a long way to Tipperary, it's a long way to go, it's a long way.
Swift Current's military history dates back almost as far as the city itself. On August 4th, 1914, Britain's involvement in the escalating conflict in Europe ushered Canada and the growing city of Swift Current into the First World War. Swift Current sent 3 contingents of men to the front lines before the largest battalion, the 209th, was formed. The first group of men to leave Swift Current were the reservists, the 27th Light Horse Regiment, who were given an elaborate send-off on August 23, 1914. By May, the newly formed 209th Battalion reached their target of 1,000 men. They trained and were billeted in Swift Current until the spring of 1915. At first, men were eager to sign up and serve king and country, but enlistment declined quickly after word came back of horrendous casualties. In 1917, Ottawa imposed conscription or compulsory military service in order to honor Canada's commitment of 500,000 men. For over 4 years, World War I raged on, leaving in its wake a toll of death and destruction such as the world had never seen. On November 11, 1918, the Allies and Germans signed the armistice to end the fighting of the First World War. It was considered to be the war to end all wars, and yet, some 20 years later, Swift Current men were once again called upon to serve their country. 92-year-old D-Day veteran Hewitt Murch remembers.
So I just decided it was time to join the service. And deep down, I think Winston Churchill, with his speeches, had a lot to do with pushing a lot of us into the service. You know, he was one that we knew was going to come out right, and we wanted to back him up. At least that was in my feelings anyway. I can still hear him talk.
We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills, we shall never surrender.
In September 1939, Canada declared a state of war, standing up for its allies, summoning all its human, industrial, and financial resources in an ongoing war effort. Canada mobilized the mightiest military force in its history. At sea, on land, and in the air, Canada was involved in the great campaign that led to the fall of the German Reich and brought back peace. During the Second World War, the 27th Light Horse Infantry was renamed the 14th Canadian Hussars. In 1941, the regiment was mobilized in Swift Current, and its members joined with other personnel in England to form the 8th Reconnaissance Division, or 8th Recce. This group of men landed on the beaches of Normandy on D-Day.
D-Day was on June the 6th, 1944. I made it down to my tank and got my vehicle, got the communications going again. And then, of course, we landed, and then we proceeded on up where our group were. You grew up fast, very fast.
During both the First and Second World War, Swift Current did its part. Victory bonds were sold to raise funds to assist in the effort. Each year, Swift Current gained its honor flag for reaching its annual campaign targets.
We were buying them ourselves, you know. Part of our pay went into Victory Bond, and I think the schools, even the school children, were putting their quarters and whatnot into Victory Bonds.
Swift Current and surrounding communities helped in whatever way they could.
We knew that they were working hard towards raising funds, you know, for the Red Cross. A lot of the ladies were doing knitting and whatnot. We waited for the mail from home. And there was parcels that came too. Dried, believe it or not, Lipton's noodle soup. That was going at the time. And that tasted pretty good, some of that. And of course we must remember that if it hadn't been for the people working in the factories, the munitions and the machinery and whatnot, we could never have kept things going.
From 1940 to 1944, Swift Current also served as a training base for pilots with the British Royal Air Force Aerodrome. The city itself, with only 5,000 residents, soon enjoyed the economic benefits to hosting 1,500 fully employed young men. Swift Current's war efforts continued throughout the years, including the Korean War from 1950 to 1953, and peacekeeping missions around the world, including Cyprus, Serbia, and Egypt. The support has changed and evolved over the years, bringing us to today with modern-day conflicts in Afghanistan. Through it all, the one constant has been the Royal Canadian Legion Swift Current Branch number 56. Since 1926, the Legion has been the guardians of Remembrance, a driving force in the community. It started out as an old boys club in 1926, a place for veterans to share their stories with one another. Over time, the role of the Legion has changed. With veteran care, community service, and promoting remembrance, the Swift Current Branch is an integral part of the community.
And that's why I think it's important that we were able to carry on with selling the wreaths and selling the poppies. And I must say that the cadets in here do a wonderful job. They help in all sorts of ways. We're lucky to have them.
Hewitt has been a member of the Legion for over 60 years. In 2012, during the visit of His Royal Highness Charles, Prince of Wales, Hewitt was awarded with the Queen's Jubilee Medal for military service.
But the Legion is still deep in my heart. It's been a good organization. And I hope that it can continue on because we need it.
Throughout the years, Swift Current remembers those who gave us the gift of freedom. Cenotaphs, monuments, and Remembrance Day services are a powerful way to continue the legacy. This war memorial stands first to honor Swift Current's own 209th Infantry Battalion in World War I, and to all veterans of World War II and all those who served in the Korean War. Built in 1927, wreaths are placed every Remembrance Day in November to remember the sacrifices that generations of Canadians have made for the peace and freedom we enjoy today. Swift Current's Mount Pleasant Cemetery acts as a memorial and final resting place for veterans from almost every conflict in which Canadians were engaged. The memory of their contributions and roles they played have been kept alive through a veterans tour hosted by the Swift Current Museum. As Swift Current approaches its centennial, we continue to honor the legacy of those who made the ultimate sacrifice.
Well, I think that the important thing is to remember those that gave their all, they gave their life. That's the more important thing, you know, to remember those that gave the supreme sacrifice, and we should never forget them. And as long as I'm alive, I will never forget them.
Well, this brings to a close another episode of Southwest TV News, reporting the stories that matter to you. We always welcome your news tips. You can always reach us here by phone at our studio or by email to contact us at southwesttvnews.com. Also, be sure to join us daily online for the latest news from across Southwest Saskatchewan and so much more at southwesttvnews.com. And be sure to follow us on a range of social media. Thanks for joining us here today. I'm Carol Andrews.